John said something really important when he, introduced everyone here today by saying this is a little ironic that we're doing a planning and buying summit today, because everything we've done for the past 30-odd years has been about planning and buying media. In fact, we've done several hundred summits on planning and buying by my count, because if you went to something about TV and video or search marketing or a vertical consumer CPG category summit, it's all about planning and buying. So I wanted to wish everybody a happy birthday, because even though this is our first summit on the topic, we launched the Planning and Buying Insider a year ago. Actually, it'll be a year ago tomorrow. And what I've done is, just to get you in the mood and the vibe for what we're discussing here today, is I just pulled out some selected highlights from the past year's coverage. Again, everything we do is fundamentally about planning and buying. Right person, right place, right time, right message, and we're going to get into some of these issues over the next couple of days, dealing with some of the topics I highlighted here, but we couldn't get into everything, so just bear with me. So I pulled this one out. This was early last year. It was from an ANA report. I'm sure you all know the ANA. By the way, if any of you ever want to contribute to the Insider on planning and buying, we'd welcome that. We have a lot of guest columnists. We have J. Walker Smith from Kantar, and Bill Duggan from the ANA, who's been championing MFAs, and in this case, also principal media buying. But in this piece here, they did an analysis of their membership, and they concluded that there's like 40,000 website options that you can buy on a media plan today, of which they recommend only 75 to 100 are actually valuable and sanctionable and should be on the plan. So I put this up first, not to demoralize you. I feel every day for brands and agencies who have to deal with this morass. I used to use the word fragmentation, and then I used to use the word hyperfragmentation. And our chairman and founder, Ken Fadner, uses a term I think is more appropriate. He calls it atomization. And that's what's going on. I'd love to really hog the stage and go into the whole history of the evolution of planning and buying in the 40 years I've been covering it, from Adweek to MediaPost. But, that would really dull your senses. And but I think what I will say in our panel tomorrow, probably, which deals with attention and engagement, is that the more things change, the more they remain the same. During the panel prep for our panel tomorrow, this is a little tease, we talked about whether this was like the brand name du jour, attention and attentiveness metrics. But, honestly, we've been dealing with this forever. And it's just like new technologies, new impetus, this hyperfragmentation or atomization, is driving the need to become more precise. And now we have data and tools to get at it. I'm only focusing on AI. There were many topics we really drilled into in the last year. And later in the week, we're going to close with Steve Smith doing a conversation with Mr. Garza from Group M about what they position as the hyper AI. I actually think it's a pretty fundamental shift, more than anything else I've seen, including fragmentation. And I use this example because it's not just the professional processes you use, the planning and the buying, the data that are being informed and transformed by AI, but it's the content itself. This is from NewsGuard, which began tracking AI-generated websites, information primarily, news and information sites, that your brands and your ads show up in, for better or worse. Now, some of these might be classified as MFAs, but they are, just sites you should be mindful of. They're being generated by AI. So there's a lot of synthetic content there, a lot of brand safety issues. And they start off by benchmarking about 50, and I just updated it today. It's over 1,000. And, this is just crowding out the space. This bar chart is actually kind of the opposite trend line if you look at it. What this is from a survey done by the WFA, World Federation of Advertisers, early last year. And what it showed is, like, in terms of the decision-making of the implementation of AI, media's kind of an also-ran. It's really more marketing, legal, and insights, brand. This is, again, from the client side. But I think it says something about it. Now, my first reaction when I saw this and I wrote about it was, honestly, it's because media's had AI baked in from the start. It's been more progressive in terms of machine learning algorithms and advanced versions of data analysis using machines. And it's just a question of where the inflection point was for true AI. I think, the reason we had this jump start this year was because of generative AI, and now I'm going down a rabbit hole of AI, but I kind of wanted to tease this up here because I'm getting to a point. I put this here because this is not from the past year's coverage of the Planning and Buying Insider. This is actually news that just broke this morning. This is another WFA study, but I thought it was a great corresponding stat you should all think about. This is a survey of the WFA membership. Again, big multinational advertisers, not agencies. But, they're putting media buying and selling optimization way down at the bottom of the impact of generative AI today. Again, client-side perspective, and I think this underestimates the role that AI has played already in algorithmic media planning and buying and selling. And then I'm just going to close with this stat. So this is from from Guideline. If you don't know what that is, that's Standard Media Index and Squad and all that media data stuff. And I can't tell you how representative it honestly is, but it blew my mind that this is the percentage of clients and agencies still using spreadsheets. And the reason I'm closing with this chart is because I think it's a great tone setter for AI and whatever comes next. Because, at one time, I guess people were using abacusses or slide rules to plan and buy media. At the time I came on, spreadsheets became popular in the late 70s and early 80s. We started moving to web-based, computer data and data visualization technologies, flow charting, Telmar, all those software applications. But we've gotten to a point now where there's just so much data and so many media options, if you remember the first slide, that you kind of need a new tool. And I don't know how AI is going to transform the way plans and media buys are made. I know they will, but again, they're just tools for the practitioners in this room. So thank you. That's kind of my tone setter. Look forward to having conversations with you in the next few days. I probably went over, but this is a brief history of my experience planning and buying media. Thank you.
By the way, hot tip for any of you at the summit, we don't get Joe Mandese to these summits too often. I would really urge you to spend time picking his brain and getting him to tell you the long story of digital advertising history, because he knows it all. So really take advantage of him. He's our greatest resource, and we wanted to make sure that he was here for you. I'm Steve Smith. I'm the editorial director of events here at MediaPost. I programmed the show. Just quickly, I want to get us into it, but just to give you a brief sense of how we came at this topic for the first time, is we went both broad and strategic as well as granular. So one of the things that we'll be seeing is broad brand perspectives on overall allocation and strategy and how that's changing, and we'll be hearing that from brands like Diageo, Ferrera, and Hyundai. But then also in our panels, we really wanted to dig into some of the tactics that you're using. And there we recruited a number of the agency executives who are here to talk across brands around key issues like brand and performance and how that's changed as a lot of the measurement and the allocation tools have changed, and how it's changed our thinking around that topic. But also, as Joe mentioned, tomorrow we want to talk about measurement and this hot new topic of attention and engagement, and whether that really replaces impression metrics that we've been using for decades. But then we also wanted to dig into some of the individual channels, give you cases and examples of especially the ways in which brands are exploring some emerging channels, some that may be a little familiar to you, but also the ways in which they're starting to move beyond media as we've known it. redefine it, and look at different channels and how they perform and how they measure. So what you'll be hearing over the next few days, a number of brands talking about their social strategies around TikTok, around everything from Web3 to audio as a strategy. And again, we're going to be talking about moving beyond media as we've known it as a part of this event. A little, for those of you who are new to the MediaPost Summit, some basic ground rules. Everything on stage is on the record. We record it, we report on it. But then at noon, everybody comes off stage and goes off the record. And we take this content on stage and turn it into conversations. I can't emphasize enough over the 20 years that we've been doing these summits that the roundtables really are the fulcrum here. Don't go out and do a quick meeting. Don't do a quick phone call. The roundtables really are where you get the value, because that's where the content on stage gets activated into conversations. You get to know one another, get comfortable with each other, get to hear one another's stories and questions, and that really starts reverberating and informs the rest of the day as you go out and you do axe throwing or golfing. So please engage in the roundtables because they really are key here. We're going to start off, I think, with one of the key questions of this summit, which is not only what new media we're using, but whether we're redefining media as well. Jason Acker at Diageo is going to help us make this case a bit, that we're not just fragmenting, and we're not even just atomizing, but maybe we're even redefining media as we've always known it. Now we're talking about countless creators. We're talking about diversified owners and culture itself, owning the moment. And what does that mean when we start thinking about this within a larger media mix? It requires new modes of allocation and new modes of measurement, and even understanding what the ROI is on a lot of these projects. Diageo, of course, is the home of some of the most storied brands in spirits, from Guinness to Johnnie Walker. Jason is the VP of Media and Digital at Diageo. That means he leads all media and digital planning, buying, and strategy for the company's North American operations, as well as their measurement, and he leads the consumer data practice. Please welcome Jason Acker.